Hey everyone, I'm Phyllis Unkefer, and I did my 18-inch journey in 2013. I was 25. I'd been living in Hong Kong, China for 5 years as a missionary. And at that time, I had been in a lot of leadership. I was leading worship, I was leading outreaches, I was traveling with teams all around Asia. And ministry had this way of pressing on some serious insecurity in my life. I was shy back then. And as a leader, I had to be in front of people all the time. And I was carrying a lot of responsibility. So at that time, I struggled with feeling inadequate, feeling incapable. I really wrestled with insecurity. And at the same time, I found myself really drawn to the verse in Isaiah 61 about binding up the brokenhearted. Partly because it was in my heart to see other people find healing, but at that point, I actually just needed it for myself. The reason that I was insecure was because I didn't really know how to love myself. I remember the first day when I came to the 18-inch journey, I was still super shy. The staff would come and say hi to me. I could barely talk to them. And then throughout the school, I was given all of these moments to be seen and heard. Like sharing a song or a poem in front of the whole community, or space to be vulnerable with leaders or with other students. And that was not so foreign to me, but what did feel really new is that I was learning how to, in those moments, open up my insecurity to the Lord. And instead of just listening to my own narrative of feeling inadequate or feeling ashamed, I was learning how to find the Father's voice. And He began to heal my mind by speaking overwhelming amounts of love and beauty and chosenness over me. And that began a journey of the Holy Spirit reteaching me that I actually do belong in moments of being seen and heard, and I myself am enough. So since then, I've had to make that choice over and over again, to lean into the Father's perspective of me instead of my own. One of the biggest things that I took away from the 18-inch journey that's still affecting my life is that insecurity is to look inward for security. And the only cure for that is to actually look to the Lord for security instead. And that is the choice that is causing confidence to slowly bloom inside of me. A confidence that keeps growing in every part of my life, in leadership, in friendships, in social settings, in conflict with others. It's the kind of confidence that comes from the deeper work of agreeing with the love of God over my life. And through His profound love, I am learning to more fully love myself.
Hey everyone, my name is Allie Sampson. I'm from East Tennessee and I did my 18-inch journey in 2012. When I applied for the 18-inch journey, I was a senior in college. I was super involved with Christian activities and campus ministries, and I was doing everything I could to build my identity and being the best Christian young woman I could possibly be. And all of that was working fine for me until my first semester of my senior year when my mom passed away. And when that happened, it felt like I suddenly went from being 100% confident in my faith and rooted in Jesus to feeling totally disoriented and lost. And it was like overnight, I had all of these doubts and questions, and I was so scared that if I got honest with how I was feeling, I not only would have lost my mom, but that I would lose my faith. And that felt like way too big of a risk to take. And in that season, my faith felt really fragile. Everything came to a head for me during the 18-inch journey. I walked into my school feeling riddled with anxiety and like I had this mountain of grief that I had no idea how to begin to process. I felt like I had been loyal to God, but that He hadn't been loyal to me in return. And I wanted really badly to keep growing with the Lord, but I felt betrayed by Him. And so I felt stuck, and I had no idea how to begin to work through some of that. Things started to shift for me a couple of weeks into the 18-inch journey when I finally felt safe enough to get really honest with God. And I remember I had this moment where I was sitting outside feeling so frustrated. And I just told the Lord, I feel like I'm working so hard to make you happy. I don't understand why you won't just tell me what it is you want me to do. And I expected God to punish me or say something really harsh. But instead, He just said to me in the kindest voice, Allie, you keep demanding that I be your boss. And I'm not interested in just being your boss. I actually just really want to be your friend. And for me in that moment, I realized that I had been so scared of what would happen if I actually just got really honest with God. And I didn't realize how much anxiety that had been producing in my life. But when I did get honest with Him, I discovered that instead of withdrawing from me or punishing me, He actually moved toward me. And He met my heart in all of those places where I felt afraid and insecure. And instead, He offered me peace and comfort and hope. In the weeks that followed in my 18-inch journey, I kept practicing honesty with God. And what I discovered was that He didn't always answer my questions like I wanted Him to, but He did always stay. And for me in that season, that was everything. I needed the God that stayed with me when things got really hard. I was desperate to know the God who was willing to be patient with my heart and was willing to reteach me how to trust Him. The 18-inch journey for me is where I rebuilt trust with the Lord. 9 years later, I am still choosing trust. I am still practicing honesty with God and choosing to let Him come close to me, especially on the days that are really hard. But the fruit of choosing that for 9 years is that I'm not so anxious anymore. I haven't lost God, and I haven't lost myself in grief. My biggest fear coming into the 18-inch journey is that if I got honest with God, I would lose my faith, but instead God fortified it. For me, the 18-inch journey is where I learned that my faith is not fragile, and neither is the Lord.
Hey everyone, my name is Mary Hall, and I did my 18-inch journey in 2018. At the time, I was living on my own in California, and I was working in the tech industry. And I was really living some of the things that I've been dreaming about. However, looking back, I actually had a lot of unprocessed pain and emotion that I just didn't know how to deal with. Everyday life could be really challenging at times because I thought that the pain was going to take me out. And I had people around me, but I didn't really let them see me or know how I was actually doing, and I just needed help. When I came to my journey, I was introduced to the humanity of Jesus. Jesus was a real man who experienced the full range of emotions. And if this God, the man of sorrows, actually welcomes my pain, welcomes my humanity and my emotion, then that leaves me with a choice to either keep hiding and pushing through, or to take Him at His word and give Him all of me. He has never rejected me, and I am not too much for Him. And the 18-inch journey taught me that vulnerability is reachability. And when I allow God and other people to really see me, it allows them to reach me in the middle of my story. These days, I am still choosing to take Jesus at His word, and my relationships are more vibrant because of it. I don't have to be the Black woman who pushes through it all, because I can choose vulnerability and healing with God and others instead. And that grows me in maturity, and I get to receive the deep connection that I'm really longing for. When I choose to give the gift of my true, whole, and real self, it allows all of me to be received and lets all of me be loved.
Hi, I'm Justina from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I did the 18-inch journey in 2008. I can recall in my early 20s struggling with feelings of loneliness pretty intensely. I loved God and I wanted to follow him, but I didn't really know how to fit him into feelings I couldn't necessarily explain. I knew I needed help, but I didn't know who I could ask for help. And I remember the opportunity to apply to the 18-inch journey came, and I was really excited. I honestly loved people. I always have. I love the idea of community, of learning together, but I was genuinely afraid of coming back home and feeling lonely again because it was such an unexplainable feeling I had had pretty consistently. And I can recall starting the school and being surprised by how different it was, surprised by eye contact from leaders, surprised by the kind of love I encountered from the Lord. And I can specifically recall learning how to journal the voice of the Lord. And I remember one of the leaders saying, let's write our most honest prayer to God. Any questions you need to say, you can say them. And I was ready. I mean, I had journaled so many honest prayers to the Lord, and I wrote it, and then our leader said, okay, pause. Now I want you to flip the page, and now I want you to let the Father respond to you, journal his voice. And I remember being like, can I do that? Does the Lord even want to say something to me? But I just took a breath, I put my pen to paper, and I was surprised by the presence of the Father I felt, and I immediately started journaling his voice over me. And I can see that moment as the beginning of a 10-year eviction of loneliness from my life. I remember going home after the journey and feeling waves of loneliness, but for the first time, I realized I had options. I could and I did pull out my journal and wait on the Lord and say, Father, I need you, and he came every time. It wasn't necessarily easy, but for the first time I felt like I could go somewhere from that place. And now, 13 years later, I'm a wife, a mother of two, and I know that the choice I made in my early 20s at the 18-inch journey was the beginning of God revolutionizing my life. I am so thankful for the opportunity I had, and I'm so thankful for the choices I got to make at the 18-inch journey. They changed my life forever.